Creepy doll horror movies have long been a staple of the genre, combining the innocence of childhood toys with terrifying supernatural elements. Whether it's their glassy eyes, their unsettling smiles, or the way they seem to move when no one's looking, there's something inherently chilling about these pint-sized terrors. Here are 10 of the top creepy doll horror movies that have left a lasting impact, including some behind-the-scenes footage and why Chucky is not number 1, and why Megan did not make the list. Also, I did not include movies that were not about the doll, like the 1982 Poltergeist or the 2013 The Conjuring. Welcome to the Hauntasm YouTube channel. Now, let's dive into the world of doll-induced nightmares.
Mary Shaw. You may have heard that she is a brilliant puppeteer.
Number 10. Annabelle Creation, 2017, is a supernatural horror film directed by David F. Sandberg and serves as a prequel to 2014's Annabelle. It's part of the Conjuring universe, a broader franchise that revolves around demonic hauntings and paranormal activity. Written by Gary Dauberman, Annabelle Creation explores the origins of the infamous possessed doll that first appeared in the 2023 The Conjuring. The movie is set in 1955 and takes viewers back to the creation of the malevolent entity that inhabits Annabelle.
Can you help me? What do you need?
The story centers around Samuel Mullins, played by Anthony LaPaglia, a doll maker, and his wife Esther, played by Miranda Otto, who are grieving the tragic death of their young daughter, Annabelle, nicknamed B. Years later, they opened their home to a group of orphans and their caretaker, Sister Charlotte, played by Stephanie Sigmund. The Mullins hope to bring some life back into their isolated and haunted home. However, one of the orphans, a curious girl named Janice, played by Talitha Bateman, stumbles upon a forbidden room and unwittingly releases the demonic force trapped within Annabelle, a doll Samuel had crafted. Talitha Bateman shines in her role as Janice, portraying vulnerability and fear with a compelling intensity. Lulu Wilson, who plays her friend Linda, also delivers a strong performance as a brave young girl who tries to protect Janice from the malevolent entity. Anthony LaPaglia and Miranda Otto give layered performances as the grief-stricken parents, particularly in their portrayal of the burden of guilt and sorrow. Annabelle Creation received positive reviews, especially when compared to its predecessor, the 2014 Annabelle, which was criticized for lacking the suspense and depth of The Conjuring films. Audiences and critics praised Sandberg's direction, the film's pacing, and its effective use of tension and atmosphere. The film was noted for its creative scares and eerie cinematography, with many calling it a significant improvement within the Conjuring franchise. The film was a box office success, grossing over $306 million worldwide against a budget of around $15 million. Its success further solidified the Conjuring universe as one of the most profitable horror franchises in cinema. Annabelle Creation not only expanded the backstory of the infamous doll, but also contributed to the larger mythology surrounding the Warrens' paranormal investigations, as referenced in other Conjuring films. Annabelle Creation is regarded as one of the stronger entries in the Conjuring franchise, effectively blending psychological terror with supernatural horror. Its success lies in its ability to create a gripping narrative while delivering a satisfying origin story for one of horror cinema's most notorious entities. The film's effective scares, solid performances, and atmospheric direction made it a standout in the ever-growing universe of the Conjuring films. Number 9. The 2013 Curse of Chucky marked a return to the franchise's horror roots after the more comedic tone of the 1998 Bride of Chucky and the 2004 Seed of Chucky. Written and directed by Don Mancini, the creator of the Child's Play series, this sixth installment aimed to revitalize Chucky, the iconic killer doll, by going back to the darker, more suspense-driven atmosphere of the original film. The story revolves around Nika Pierce, played by Fiona Dourif, a paraplegic woman who lives in an isolated, creepy mansion with her domineering mother, Sarah. One day, they receive an unexpected package containing a good guy doll, Chucky, of course, though they have no idea of its sinister past.
You found him.
Chucky's my friend till the end. Hey, wanna play?
Unlike the previous two entries in the franchise, Curse of Chucky largely abandons the black humor and over-the-top antics, opting instead for a more atmospheric, claustrophobic horror film. The setting, Nika's large, isolated mansion, gives the movie a gothic, haunted house feel. The suspense builds gradually, with a focus on tension and psychological horror over gore, though the film still delivers gruesome death scenes typical of the series. The return to practical effects for Chucky was another strong aspect. While CGI is used sparingly, the animatronics for Chucky's facial expressions and movements bring a sense of realism that grounds the film in its horror roots. Brad Dourif, the voice of Chucky since the original film, delivers a chilling performance once again, bringing the doll to life with his trademark sadistic charm. Curse of Chucky ties directly into the broader Child's Play mythology. Throughout the film, flashbacks reveal that Charles Lee Ray had a personal connection to Nika's family. He was romantically obsessed with Nika's mother, Sarah, and had kidnapped her before becoming the killer doll. These flashbacks tie together the origins of Chucky and his motives in targeting Nika's family, expanding on the lore of the character. The film also serves as a bridge between the older films and the future of the series. Characters from earlier entries make surprise appearances. Jennifer Tilly reprises her role as Tiffany Valentine in a post-credits scene, hinting at further developments in the franchise. The movie cleverly positions itself as a soft reboot, while maintaining continuity with the original series, which helped introduce Chucky to a new generation of horror fans.
The most thrilling part for me personally is the fact that my daughter is playing the girl in the wheelchair.
It was really cool shooting this movie with my dad.
He's been like interjecting embarrassing stories from my childhood and meetings
Press junket
with,
will be fine.
Curse of Chucky was well received, particularly for its return to form after the more comedic installments. Critics and fans praised its blend of suspense, atmosphere, and tension, while appreciating Brad Dourif's return as Chucky. Fiona Dourif's performance as Nika was also highlighted, as she brought depth and vulnerability to the role, making her a compelling protagonist in the series. The success of Curse of Chucky breathed new life into the franchise, leading to the seventh installment, the 2017 Cult of Chucky, which continues Nika's story. Moreover, the film's success demonstrated that Chucky could still be a terrifying figure in horror, balancing new storylines with nostalgic nods to longtime fans.
Never mind. I got it.
Number 8. Dolly Dearest is a 1991 American horror film directed by Maria Leese, blending elements of the supernatural with the ever-popular killer doll trope. Often compared to the Child's Play series due to its premise, Dolly Dearest has become a cult classic over the years for fans of the killer doll subgenre, even though it didn't achieve mainstream success. The story centers around the Wade family, who relocate to Mexico after the father, Elliot Wade, played by Sam Bottoms, buys a doll factory to mass-produce the Dolly Dearest doll line. His wife Marilyn, played by Denise Crosby, and their two children, Jessica, played by Candace Hudson, and Jimmy, played by Chris Demetral, join him at their new home near the factory. Unbeknownst to the family, The doll factory is built next to an ancient Mayan tomb, which houses the spirit of a malevolent demon named Sanzia. This evil spirit possesses one of the dolls, bringing it to life. While Dolly Dearest falls in line with the killer doll films of the time, its premise draws from supernatural elements. Critically, Dolly Dearest received mixed to negative reviews upon release. Many critics saw it as derivative of the more successful Child's Play franchise, while others felt that the film's special effects and suspense were not on par with similar films in the genre. However, the film has gained a following in later years, largely due to its nostalgic appeal and its status as a hidden gem of early 90s horror. The film's practical effects, especially the animatronics used to bring the doll to life, are often praised by fans. The design of the doll, with her iconic blue eyes and innocent appearance turned sinister, adds to the film's eerie atmosphere. Denise Crosby's performance as the protective mother is also considered one of the film's strengths. Though Dolly Dearest may not have the same cultural impact as other killer doll films, it has garnered a niche fan base. Its blend of creepy doll imagery, ancient curses, and family horror creates a unique entry in the horror genre. For those looking for a lesser-known doll horror film with early 90s charm, Dolly Dearest offers a mix of camp and chills, making it a cult favorite among horror fans. In the years since its release, Dolly Dearest has continued to be discussed and revisited. It is often cited as one of those so bad it's good horror films, adding to its lasting appeal in horror circles.
Good night, Dolly. You're gonna be my new playmate.
Number 7. The 1989 Puppet Master is a low-budget horror film directed by David Schmueller and produced by Full Moon Features, a studio known for its cult classic B-movies. The film is the first in what became a long-running horror franchise centered on the concept of sentient, murderous puppets brought to life through a mystical power. It's widely regarded as one of the most popular and enduring examples of 1980s direct-to-video horror cinema. The story is set in the Bodega Bay Inn, where psychics are drawn together after receiving strange visions connected to the death of a colleague, Neil Gallagher. They soon discover that Gallagher had been researching the secrets of a puppet master named André Toulon, a puppeteer who, during the 1930s, learned how to bring his creations to life using ancient Egyptian alchemical magic. The puppets, each with distinct abilities, are not simply marionettes, but deadly assassins controlled by Toulon's mystical powers. As the psychics investigate, they are picked off one by Toulon's puppets, culminating in a twist about Gallagher's intentions and the true nature of the puppets. Puppet Master blends supernatural horror with campy, surreal moments, often teetering between the grotesque and absurd. The film explores themes of life after death, control, and revenge, but most importantly, it indulges in the classic killer toy trope. The puppets themselves, with their intricate designs and eerie, stop-motion animation, are the film's main draw. The practical effects, though dated by today's standards, add to the movie's charm, especially for fans of 1980s horror. Upon its release, Puppet Master gained attention primarily through the home video market rather than theaters. Its direct-to-video success spurred the creation of over a dozen sequels, prequels, and spin-offs, as well as crossovers with other Full Moon Features properties like Dollman and Demonic Toys. The franchise has earned a cult following, primarily among fans of campy horror and killer doll subgenres. While Puppet Master was never critically acclaimed, it has become a beloved staple of 80s and 90s horror cinema for its bizarre premise, inventive practical effects, and quirky characters. Its success is often attributed to the puppets themselves, which became horror icons in their own right. These puppets become a central focus of the franchise, with each gaining its own fan following over the years.
I'm tired of experimenting with silly little wooden puppets.
Number 6, the 1987 Dolls is a horror film directed by Stuart Gordon, known for his work on other cult horror films like Reanimator. The film blends elements of supernatural horror, dark fantasy, and fairy tale aesthetics. Though relatively obscure compared to mainstream horror hits of the time, Dolls has earned a loyal fan base due to its eerie atmosphere, practical effects, and unique take on the haunted house genre. The movie opens with a young girl named Judy, her cruel father, David, and her wicked stepmother, Rosemary, stranded in a storm after their car gets stuck in the mud. The trio finds shelter in a large, ominous mansion owned by an elderly doll maker, Gabriel Hartwicke, and his wife, Hilary. Inside the mansion are hundreds of lifelike dolls that the couple has crafted over the years. As night falls, more travelers seek refuge at the mansion. A charming man named Ralph, who connects with Judy, and two thieving punk girls, Enid and Isabel. Unbeknownst to the newcomers, the dolls in the house are not merely decorative, they are alive. When people with bad intentions, like the greedy, disrespectful adults, begin mistreating the house or its occupants, the dolls enact a brutal justice upon them. The dolls are portrayed as eerie, sentient beings that carry out supernatural acts of vengeance. Though small and seemingly harmless, they are relentless in hunting down those they judge as evil. The dolls represent a supernatural force beyond human comprehension, giving the film a sense of otherworldly dread. One of the most praised aspects of the film is its use of practical effects. The dolls were brought to life using stop-motion animation, puppetry, and miniature effects, giving them a unique and unsettling quality. The movements of the dolls are jerky and unnatural, enhancing the creepiness of their attacks. Upon its release, Dolls was not a major box office success, but it gained cult status over the years. Fans of 1980s horror appreciated its mix of dark humor, inventive kills, and its fairy tale-like narrative. Many regard it as a precursor to the more famous Child's Play, which also features killer dolls, though Dolls focuses less on a singular antagonist and more on a collective of malevolent toys. Critics were divided on the film. Some appreciated its craftsmanship and Gordon's ability to build tension, while others found the film's tonal shifts, from whimsical to violent, jarring. However, most agree that the film's inventive use of effects and its atmosphere of gothic terror helped it stand out among other horror movies of the time.
I think the hardest scene in the whole movie was the scene where Rosemary is killed by the dolls, because this is the first time in the film where we actually see them, and there are so many of them. Plus, they're doing all these horrific things to her, with the little tools and weapons and things. That scene, I believe, took, I would say, 3 or 4 days to shoot.
They had a doll that was supposed to saw my foot off, and I was surprised because that was a real sharp knife. They weren't supposed to press very hard, but I remember there was one point where it was like, hey, wait a minute, this is like a Swiss Army knife you got here. Are you serious?
Though Dolls never reached the same level of popularity as some of its contemporaries, it remains a beloved gem among fans of 80s horror. Its blend of horror and fantasy, combined with its underlying moral message, gives it a timeless fairy tale quality. In the years since its release, Dolls has been reappraised by horror fans, especially for its technical craftsmanship and the nostalgic appeal of its practical effects. It's also become a favorite during Halloween movie marathons, particularly for viewers seeking something a little offbeat.
Pleasant dreams.
Number 5, Dead Silence is a 2007 horror film directed by James Wan, the same filmmaker behind Saw and the Conjuring franchises. The film was written by Lee Wannell, Wan's frequent collaborator. Although it did not achieve major box office success, Dead Silence has gained a cult following for its creepy atmosphere, haunting visuals, and the terrifying concept of a vengeful spirit who uses ventriloquist dummies to exact revenge. The film follows Jamie Ashen, played by Ryan Kwanten, a man who returns to his eerie hometown of Ravens Fair to investigate the mysterious death of his wife Lisa, played by Laura Regan. After Lisa is gruesomely murdered, following the arrival of a strange ventriloquist doll, Jamie suspects something supernatural is involved. His investigation leads him to an urban legend about Mary Shaw, played by Judith Roberts, a ventriloquist who was murdered by townspeople decades ago after being accused of killing a young boy. Mary Shaw's dying wish was to be buried with her children, her collection of ventriloquist dolls. As Jamie delves deeper into the legend, he uncovers dark secrets about his family and the curse that Mary Shaw placed on the town. According to the curse, anyone who screams when confronted by Mary Shaw is killed, their tongue ripped out. The film builds toward a shocking revelation about Jamie's own connection to the curse and a chilling twist ending. One of the defining features of Dead Silence is its use of ventriloquist dummies as a source of horror. The main doll, Billy, evokes the uncanny valley effect, where human-like objects provoke feelings of unease. The lifeless yet disturbingly human appearance of the dolls adds an unsettling layer to the film's atmosphere. James Wan's directorial style is prominent throughout Dead Silence, with its gothic atmosphere, dimly lit settings, and the use of shadows to create dread. The film's color palette is washed in shades of blue and gray, which gives it a cold, eerie tone. The haunted small-town setting of Ravens Fair, with its abandoned theaters and old mansions, provides the perfect backdrop for a story about ghosts and vengeance. Wan also plays with misdirection and jump scares, staples of his horror filmmaking. The tension builds throughout the film, with creepy dolls appearing unexpectedly and moments of silence broken by sudden terrifying sounds. Despite being less graphic than some of Wan's other works, Dead Silence uses psychological horror to instill fear. Upon its release, Dead Silence received mixed to negative reviews from critics. While some praised the atmosphere and Wan's direction, others found the story formulaic and the reliance on horror cliches uninspired. The film scores low on Rotten Tomatoes, with many pointing out its similarities to other haunted doll movies. However, Dead Silence found an audience over time, particularly among fans of supernatural horror. Its twist ending is often cited as one of the film's standout elements, and many have praised its creepy aesthetic. James Wan's later success with films like Insidious and The Conjuring led to a renewed interest in his earlier work, giving Dead Silence a second life as a cult favorite.
Now, who's the dummy?
Number 4, the 2016 The Boy movie is a psychological horror thriller directed by William Brent Bell, with a screenplay by Stacey Menear. The film stars Lauren Cohan, best known for her role in The Walking Dead, and Rupert Evans. The story centers on Greta Evans, an American woman who travels to a remote English village to work as a nanny for an elderly couple. However, the boy she is hired to care for is not what she expected. It's a life-sized porcelain doll named Brahms. Greta takes the job at the Heelshire mansion as a way to escape an abusive relationship in the U.S. When she arrives, she meets the elderly Heelshires, who introduce her to Brahms. The couple treats the doll as if it were their real son, who supposedly died in a fire 20 years earlier. They provide Greta with a strict set of rules on how to care for Brahms, including feeding him, reading to him, and never leaving him alone. While skeptical and amused at first, Greta soon experiences strange occurrences. Objects move, and the doll appears in different locations. These unsettling events lead her to believe that Brahms might be alive. The Boy explores themes of grief, isolation, and trauma. The Hillshires' unhealthy attachment to their son, even in his monstrous state, highlights their inability to cope with loss. Greta's own trauma, fleeing from an abusive ex-boyfriend, parallels Brahms's emotional control over her, and her growing belief in the supernatural reflects how vulnerable she becomes. The film also plays with expectations, subverting traditional haunted house and supernatural horror tropes by delivering a shocking twist ending. Upon its release, The Boy received mixed reviews from critics. Some praised its atmosphere, tension, and Cohan's performance, while others criticized the slow pacing and reliance on well-worn horror tropes. However, the film did stand out for its surprising twist and unconventional approach to the haunted doll subgenre. The film grossed around $64 million worldwide on a modest budget, making it a financial success. While The Boy didn't receive overwhelming critical acclaim, its twist and unique narrative earned it a place among notable contemporary horror films. Its success led to a sequel, Brahms' The Boy 2, which further explored the eerie presence of the doll, although the sequel was less well received. Number 3. The 2014 Annabelle is a supernatural horror film directed by John R. Leonetti and serves as a prequel and spin-off to the 2013 movie The Conjuring, directed by James Wan. It is based on the infamous real-life doll of the same name, which is housed in the Occult Museum of Paranormal Investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The movie focuses on the origin of the haunted doll, which plays a prominent role in the Conjuring universe. Set in the 1960s, Annabelle follows the story of a young married couple, Mia and John Form, played by Annabelle Wallis and Ward Horton, who are expecting their first child. John gifts Mia a rare vintage doll named Annabelle as a present for their unborn baby. However, their lives take a horrifying turn when members of a satanic cult invade their home, and one of the attackers, a woman named Annabelle Higgins, dies while holding the doll. Shortly after, strange and terrifying occurrences begin to unfold around the doll. The film employs a slow burn approach to horror, relying on eerie atmospheres, jump scares, and unsettling visuals, rather than relying on gore or overt violence. It also delves into the lore of satanic rituals, possession, and demonic forces, which are central to the Conjuring universe. Annabelle received mixed to negative reviews from critics, but was more successful with audiences. Many critics felt that it lacked the tension and atmosphere that made The Conjuring a success, with some calling the story predictable and reliant on conventional horror tropes. However, praise was given to the film's cinematography, direction, and use of suspense. The performances of Annabelle Wallis and Alfre Woodard were particularly highlighted, with Wallis effectively portraying a mother pushed to the brink by terrifying forces. The film's ability to craft unsettling scenes, especially involving the doll, resonated with audiences. Despite the mixed reviews, Annabelle was a commercial success, grossing over $257 million worldwide against a modest budget of around $6.5 million. Its success solidified the doll as a central figure in the Conjuring franchise, which has since expanded into a cinematic universe, sometimes referred to as the Conjuring universe. The film's popularity led to 2 additional sequels, Annabelle Creation in 2017, which further delved into the doll's origins, and Annabelle Comes Home in 2019, which explored the doll's connection to the Warrens.
Annabelle says hi.
Number 2. The 1988 film Child's Play, directed by Tom Holland, is a landmark in horror cinema, introducing one of the most iconic villains in pop culture, Chucky, a sinister doll possessed by the soul of a serial killer. The movie blends elements of supernatural horror with psychological tension, exploring themes of trust, fear, and innocence. The The story follows 6-year-old Andy Barkley, played by Alex Vincent, who receives a good guy doll named Chucky as a birthday gift from his single mother, Karen, played by Catherine Hicks. Unbeknownst to them, Chucky is possessed by the spirit of Charles Lee Ray, played by Brad Dourif, a notorious serial killer who, after being fatally wounded in a police shootout, transfers his soul into the doll using voodoo magic. Soon after, a series of brutal murders begin to unfold, and Andy finds himself at the center of suspicion. He insists that Chucky is alive and responsible for the killings, but his claims are dismissed as childish imagination. Chucky stands out among horror villains for his appearance as a seemingly harmless children's toy, which contrasts starkly with his violent and sadistic nature. Voiced by Brad Dourif, who brings a chilling mix of sarcasm, rage, and malice, Chucky became a fresh and unsettling antagonist in horror cinema. The character's small size and innocent look made him a particularly unnerving figure, as he could easily manipulate or deceive adults. Chucky's design was also revolutionary, combining animatronics with puppetry to create his lifelike movements. The film effectively built suspense, playing on the idea that something as innocent as a doll could harbor evil, which resonated with audiences and set the stage for Chucky's place in the horror canon. Upon its release, Child's Play was a commercial success, grossing over $44 million against a budget of $9 million. While it garnered mixed reviews from critics, the film's blend of horror, humor, and suspense struck a chord with audiences. The movie spawned a long-running franchise, including numerous sequels, a television series, Chucky, and even a 2019 reboot, solidifying Chucky's place as a cultural icon. Child's Play not only launched the Chucky franchise, but also significantly impacted the horror genre. It explored the theme of possessed inanimate objects in a fresh way, blending supernatural elements with slasher horror. The movie helped redefine the horror landscape in the late 1980s and early 1990s, introducing a villain that was both frightening and oddly charismatic, thanks to Dourif's unforgettable performance. The success of the original film paved the way for the evolution of Chucky from a malevolent, straightforward killer to a character with a more comedic and self-aware tone in later installments. The film's ability to blend horror and dark humor has been influential in shaping modern horror films that balance terror with levity.
Hi, I'm Andy. What's your name? Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi-ho.
Number 1. The 1978 movie called Magic is a psychological horror thriller film directed by Richard Attenborough, based on the novel by William Goldman, who also wrote the screenplay. The movie stars Anthony Hopkins, Anne Margaret, and Burgess Meredith. The film explores themes of obsession, identity, and psychological breakdown, all presented through the eerie and unnerving relationship between a ventriloquist and his dummy. The story centers on Corky Withers, a struggling magician who finds success by incorporating ventriloquism into his act with a puppet named Fats. Corky's success, however, comes at a price. He becomes increasingly dependent on Fats, who seems to take on a life of his own. Fats is a crude, vulgar figure, and the line between Corky's personality and Fats begins to blur, creating an intense psychological battle. At its core, Magic is a study of a fractured mind. The film blurs the line between reality and delusion, with Fats representing the darker aspects of Corky's psyche. As Corky becomes more unstable, the ventriloquist dummy appears to take control, raising questions about whether Fats is a manifestation of Corky's inner turmoil or if there's something more sinister at play. Anthony Hopkins delivers a chilling and deeply unsettling performance as Corky. His ability to switch between the meek, troubled magician and the darkly comic Fats is a masterclass in acting, highlighting Corky's fragile mental state. The dynamic between Corky and Fats, where Hopkins voices both characters, is intense and disturbing, and Margaret provides a strong emotional anchor as Peggy, bringing vulnerability and warmth to the film, while Burgess Meredith's performance as Corky's concerned mentor adds another layer of tension. Upon its release, Magic received positive reviews, particularly for Hopkins' performance and the film's eerie atmosphere. It was praised for its psychological tension and subtle horror, focusing more on character development than traditional horror tropes. Burgess Meredith's portrayal of Ben Green also garnered attention, especially for a memorable scene in which he challenges Corky to a 5-minute silence to see if he can control Fats without speaking. Though not as well known as other psychological thrillers, Magic has maintained a cult following over the years, particularly among fans of horror and psychological drama. It is often remembered for its unsettling premise, effective use of ventriloquism as a metaphor for mental breakdown, and Hopkins' riveting dual performance. The film, with its slow burn tension and psychological complexity, has influenced later horror and thriller works that explore the theme of dual personalities and mental illness. The image of Fats, with his eerie expression and crude personality, remains iconic in the genre. Magic stands as a haunting exploration of human fragility, self-destruction, and the sinister potential of the mind.
By the end of the film, how did you feel towards that dummy, Fats?
I was very fond of him. The moments I hated him intensely because it was so difficult to work with sometimes, you know. I've been asked this question a few times today, in fact, and I get a sense now, it's like a memory. I'm beginning to miss Fats. Actually, he used to make me laugh a lot. He used to make me laugh. I used to see him sitting in his little chair, you know, staring at a wall, and I used to get a kind of kick out of him. And I know some people were frightened of him. He's only a piece of wood.
I did enjoy the original 1988 Child's Play, and Chucky has definitely earned its place as one of the most iconic villains, and yes, I do have a Chucky doll. But while Child's Play is an iconic and entertaining horror film, Magic offers more depth, stronger performances, and a more psychological approach to its horror. It's a film that leaves a lasting impression due to its exploration of the darker aspects of the human mind, making it a more sophisticated and chilling experience.
Look at him, he still doesn't understand. Better sit down, kid, while I hit you with an explanation. Ever since we got together, I laid low. It was best for the act. I let you share the limelight. There's one thing about me, I'm big. But then earlier today, when I begged you, pleaded not to be left behind, and you pissed ice water all over me, well, that tore it. If I'm boring you, please walk around. I don't care.
Anthony Hopkins gives a chilling and mesmerizing performance in Magic. His portrayal of Corky's descent into madness is nuanced, showcasing his range as an actor. He manages to create a believable and deeply unsettling relationship with his ventriloquist dummy, blurring the lines between reality and insanity. In contrast, while Child's Play features a strong vocal performance by Brad Dourif as Chucky, the human performances don't match the gravitas or intensity of Hopkins' portrayal. The acting in Magic is more grounded and compelling. And as for why Megan did not make the top 10 list, I felt that it was too new. I did enjoy Megan and liked the take on an AI-driven doll, but I still felt that it had not yet earned a place among the other veteran horror doll movies. These films have left a lasting impact on the horror genre, with their unsettling doll imagery and eerie atmospheres playing on deep-rooted fears of lifelike toys that may not be as innocent as they seem. And if you're up for more doll-induced shivers, there's a whole universe of creepy doll movies out there. From possessed playthings to haunted ventriloquist dummies, filmmakers keep finding new ways to make us question our childhood toy choices. So, Which one sends the biggest shiver down your spine? Cast your vote and let us know in the comments. Here is my ranking list compared to IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. The 1978 Magic and the 1988 Child's Play remain in the top 5 across the board. I hope that you enjoyed this video, which took several weeks to create, and I know this video is a bit long, especially compared to other top 10 lists on YouTube, but I wanted to create a more in-depth list than others. Thank you for watching.